Somali DNA, uncovering ancient migrations and genetic blending. Our journey reveals Somali's role as a genetic bridge, challenging migration narratives. We show how this nation shaped the journey of our species. Welcome to History of Genetics. In this documentary, we will uncover the hidden secrets of Somalian DNA, tracing ancient migrations, cultural exchanges, and genetic blending across millennia. From salt roads to colonial footprints, this journey through time will reveal how Somali's genes preserve a rich, complex human history. Somali, a country located in the Horn of Africa, lies near one of the most ancient corridors of human migration, the Great Rift Valley. Indian Ocean, the Red Sea, and the Gulf of Aden with amazing landscape. While some of it is harsh and sun-bleached today, cradles one of the deepest genealogical memories on Earth. Scientists looking to uncover the earliest dispersals of Homo sapiens often turn their attention to this region. In recent years, DNA extracted from ancient remains and living populations in Somalia has begun to echo secrets from tens of thousands of years ago. This land may seem peripheral, but to geneticists, it represents a unique node along the exit routes from Africa. As Homo sapiens spread from the continent's interior, some moved northward toward Egypt and the Mediterranean. Others veered eastward, following the valleys and rifts that slice through what is now the Horn of Africa. Djibouti and Somalia, with its proximity to the Bab el-Mandeb Strait and the Red Sea, became a natural bottleneck for early human flow. Archaeological excavations near Lake Assal and the Goba Plain have revealed tools associated with Middle Stone Age cultures. While these artifacts don't hold DNA themselves, they provide contextual evidence for early human activity. Geneticists then turned to modern-day Somali people, especially from isolated or traditionally pastoral communities, to find clues embedded within their genomes that may stretch back 50,000 years or more. One fascinating discovery involves the presence of deeply divergent mitochondrial lineages. Mitochondrial DNA, passed through the maternal line, retains traces of ancient migrations and population splits. In Somalia, a rare mitochondrial haplogroup, L6, has been found in low frequencies, an extremely old lineage believed to have originated in the Horn of Africa. Its continued presence, even in trace amounts, suggests that the area has been continuously inhabited by anatomically modern humans for tens of millennia. What makes this even more remarkable is the parallel evidence in Y chromosome data. Male inherited markers reveal ancient paternal lines that echo similar timelines, deep African lineages that predate more recent Eurasian influxes. Together, these maternal and paternal records allow researchers to piece together not just migration patterns, but also population continuity. In other words, some of the people living in Somalia and Djibouti today may be direct descendants of the earliest Homo sapiens groups to walk out of Africa. Environmental data supports these interpretations. During the late Pleistocene, fluctuating wet and dry periods influenced human movement. Somali's strategic location meant that it was a passage during wet times and a refuge during droughts. Genetic bottlenecks, points in history when populations shrank drastically, can be observed in Somalians' DNA and correspond with these climatic events. Each genetic bottleneck left a distinct pattern, like fingerprints pressed onto the double helix of history. Beyond just tracing the origins of migration, Somali people's DNA reveals complex patterns of isolation and contact. Small, semi-nomadic groups that remained in the inland highlands show genetic markers that diverged thousands of years ago from those found along the coast. Such variation within a tiny geographical area highlights the importance of microregions in human evolutionary history. It also challenges the notion of Africa as genetically homogeneous. It is, in fact, the most genetically diverse continent, and Somalia exemplifies that beautifully. The research is not without its difficulties. Political instability, limited infrastructure, and logistical constraints often hamper fieldwork. Additionally, Cultural sensitivities around DNA collection require researchers to work closely with local communities and ensure mutual respect and understanding. However, international collaborations between Djiboutian researchers, Ethiopian geneticists, and European institutions have made recent studies more fruitful. Advances in next-generation sequencing technology have allowed scientists to extract and analyze DNA, even from minimal or degraded samples. One of the more surprising findings came from examining ancient DNA fragments obtained from sediments near dried lake beds. Though skeletal remains were not always preserved, traces of human DNA were recovered from soil, fragments left behind through skin, hair, and bodily fluids thousands of years ago. This new frontier in environmental DNA provides a powerful tool for reconstructing the genetic landscape of prehistoric communities in regions like Somalia and Djibouti, where preservation conditions are tough. As these data accumulate, a pattern is emerging. Somalia was not just a corridor for migration, it was a contact zone, a point of exchange between inland Africa and the Arabian Peninsula. Even before organized trade, the early inhabitants of Somalia were moving, mating, adapting, and passing down their genetic heritage in a region that would become pivotal in the story of humanity. The echoes from the Rift Valley continue to reverberate through Somalian DNA. They whisper of ancient trails, dry riverbeds once lush with life, and hominin feet pressing into volcanic ash. As modern science lends us ears to hear these whispers, we come closer to understanding how this country, so often overlooked, helped shape the journey of our species. The story doesn't end in the distant past. Instead, each breakthrough reveals new layers, drawing us forward into a more complex and interconnected understanding of human origins. The secrets in Somalians' DNA are only beginning to surface. Somalia rests at the very edge of Africa, a land that gazes directly across the narrow Bab el-Mandeb Strait toward the Arabian Peninsula. This 30-kilometer-wide channel, once shallower and narrower during glacial periods, may have acted as one of the first true genetic bridges between Africa and Eurasia. Modern DNA analysis from populations in both Somalia and Yemen reveals traces of these ancient crossings. For decades, anthropologists theorized that Homo sapiens used two main corridors to exit Africa, one through the Nile Valley into the Levant and the other across the southern Red Sea. The Somali-Yemen route, though long debated, is now gaining stronger support through genetic evidence. What scientists have uncovered is a trail of shared genetic markers, especially among mitochondrial haplogroups M and N, that originated in Africa but flourished in Asia. These haplogroups are essentially signatures of early human dispersal. Their presence in Somali populations, particularly among older generations and inland groups, suggests a reverse flow of genes as well, indicating that some early humans may have moved not just out of Africa, but also back into it. This bidirectional gene flow contradicts the simplistic narrative of a one-way migration and highlights Somali's role as a two-way gateway between continents. Genomic comparisons between Djiboutian Afar and Somali populations and those in southern Arabia show overlapping segments of DNA. These shared sequences are too similar to be dismissed as recent admixture. Rather, they likely point to exchanges that happened over 30,000 to 50,000 years ago. This period aligns with the timeline of early Homo sapiens expanding outwards into unfamiliar terrain, seeking shelter, food, and safer environments during climatic fluctuations. Interestingly, Somali's role as a bridge was not only geographical but also cultural and linguistic. Linguistic studies show connections between Cushitic languages and the South Semitic languages of southern Arabia. This linguistic kinship, stretching back millennia, mirrors what is seen in the genes, a parallel migration of words, sounds, and ideas that accompanied human movement. Even as early as the Holocene epoch, seafaring communities began making regular crossings. Though primitive, their watercraft enabled short-distance maritime travel. DNA studies on both sides of the Red Sea show that these crossings weren't random or accidental. Instead, they became part of a repeated pattern of migration and settlement, especially during periods of low sea levels. One of the most compelling pieces of genetic evidence comes from the study of autosomal DNA, the part of our genome that represents the combined inheritance from all ancestors. In Somalian samples, segments of DNA exhibit notable affinity with populations in southern Arabia, Pakistan, and even parts of Iran. These genetic strands tell of intercontinental mingling long before written history. They speak of human resilience, curiosity, and the unrelenting pull of movement. This also explains why Somalian DNA doesn't fit neatly into African or Arabian categories. It's a unique blend, neither wholly sub-Saharan nor Middle Eastern, but carrying threads of both. This genetic distinctiveness has implications for our understanding of human adaptability. Somalians carry gene variants associated with both hot desert survival and high-salt environments, likely inherited from populations who evolved in differing ecosystems and later converged here. Some of these gene variants affect hydration and thermoregulation. Others influence metabolism, skin pigmentation, and even immunity. In this way, Somali people became biologically tailored for a hybrid world, one foot in Africa, the other in Asia. A human synthesis shaped not by artificial borders, but by thousands of years of biological negotiation with environment and geography. Meanwhile, analysis of ancient mitochondrial lineages suggests that even Neolithic migrants from Arabia may have interbred with Somali ancestors. Researchers have detected lineages that appear to have originated in Arabia around 9,000 years ago, aligning with the early domestication of animals and the movement of pastoralist groups into the Horn of Africa. These ancient encounters expanded genetic diversity and contributed to the population's adaptability. In turn, Somalian groups may have carried their own genes into the Arabian Peninsula during later migration waves. As the Red Sea narrowed during glacial periods and then widened again, human movement followed the rhythm of nature. These fluctuating pathways allowed genes to cross back and forth, leaving deep impressions on both sides of the strait. Today, DNA evidence from places like Somalia and Djibouti helps reconstruct these forgotten journeys.